Brittany again, and I'm here to discuss everything you ever wanted that's sitting on the other side of fear. No, I'm kidding. I'm here to discuss the topic that everyone has been wanting, and it is calling your referrals, talking to your referrals, and communicating with your referrals in the best way. I just love this quote by George Adair: everything you have ever wanted is sitting on the other side of fear, because I feel that a lot of times we are afraid to call prospects and follow up and reach out and go to networking events and even obtain prospects. So I'm really happy to be doing this video and to get started with you. Some key points that I want to discuss is number one, when you're dealing with your prospects, never assume that because you have a lead, a warm lead, very warm, hot, piping, or a prospect, that they're interested in what you have to sell. Just because someone has referred someone to you or gotten in touch with you or reached out to you that they need help or that they want to have an appointment or a meeting doesn't mean that they're going to be your next sign up or your next recruit. So that leads us into number two: let go of your attachment for making the sell. Just go ahead, let go of it. And number three, focus on if there's a sell to be made in the first place. If you've been following me, you know that these are the three principles that I stand by. Never assume. Do not assume the sell. We've all been taught to do it, and you know what? It's nonsense. Do not assume anything. We all know what it means. I mean, let's just me, okay? We know what it means. Don't do it. It's just really unfortunate that it's been ingrained in us to assume the sell, because now it's hard to stop doing. But as a review, don't assume that just because you have a lead or email address or a prospect that someone gave to you that they're interested in what you have. Let go of your attachment for making the sell and focus on helping them. Focus on discovering more about them and finding out if you can truly help them. So first, we're going to go into a little bit of what the average salesperson does when they call someone. I'm just going to role play and just kind of go into a little bit of kind of what I used to do and what 99% of other salespeople are doing. So here it goes. Hi, is this Jane? Jane, this is Brittany with Maiden Warriors, and Joe Smith asked me to call you as he said you'd be interested in my company's membership community, and he also said he wanted to take your online business, your direct sales business, to the next level. Do you have like 5 minutes right now where we can maybe talk about how my company can get you results that you're needing for increasing your sales? So here is the problem. Let's go back. First of all, you're doing a lot of talking, right? Secondly, you're assuming. Did Joe even say that? First of all, did he? Did you ask him? Did you ask him how this person could be helped by you? Or did you just say, oh, thanks for the referral? Red flag number one. Number two, asking them, do they have 5 minutes right now? Do you really think it's going to take 5 minutes? And how do you know they're not in the middle of dinner or shopping or in bed? And how do you know if your company can give them results? Do you know if they're struggling? Just because Joe referred you to them doesn't mean that they have a problem that your solution can solve. You're making an assumption that this prospect wants your services, and you haven't even built any trust other than Joe referred you. They may not even really know Joe that well. The prospect immediately becomes defensive oftentimes because that phrase really triggers sales pressure. You're assuming that it's just so much sales pressure. It's like, 5 minutes, yeah, sure. And a lot of times they're angry. They become resistant and start asking you questions to ensure that they don't need to be sold. And many times the prospect will say yes. And what do you do? That's when what do you say? Most times the prospect will say, yeah, sure, I've got 5 minutes. Now, who are you with? Or now, what do you do? Now, how can you help me? And what do you do? Immediately go into your pitch, your story, and your presentation, right? Yeah. Well, here's the problem. They immediately feel like you're trying to close them and make a sell. They're wondering, while you're talking about your presentation and story, they're wondering how much it costs and probably aren't even listening to your presentation. And most importantly, you didn't involve them in the process. You didn't build trust with them. You didn't identify problems that they might be having or even decide if what you have to offer them will help them or even be beneficial. You didn't dig deep to ask how problems may be affecting them, their family, their happiness. You made an assumption. They got defensive and scared and told you maybe, well, could you call me back another time and maybe we can talk about it a little bit more? Or they immediately say, thank you so much for calling and I appreciate your time, but I'm just really not interested at this time. How many times have you gotten those answers and lost another prospect? So I'm sure you're here because you want to know the solution. And the first one is, like I said in the beginning, never assume anything. Don't assume the sell. It's honestly, at this point, it's disgusting to prospects when you assume that they want something and you don't even know them. Your mission is to find out as much about this person's problem, if there are any at all, and discover whether you can even help them. Discover if your solution can help them. And if your solution can't, you can dig a little deeper and build even more trust so that they maybe even send referrals to you by sending them to someone else that you know that may help them. Okay? This is how you build a real business. You use your contacts to help them, even if your solution can't even help them. But that's a whole nother video. But before calling your referral, here's one thing that you should first ask Joe, who gave you the referral, before calling them. You should ask, okay, I know you feel that I can really help this person, Joe, but can you tell me more about them and why you feel I'd be able to help them? Write it down. Write down what Joe says, what their problems are, and why he feels that you can help them, because it gives you a little bit more information about this person so that you can use it for yourself when you're calling. It gives you a more specific startup question and problem to deliver for when you speak to them. And here is the new way to call your referrals. All right, here it goes. Hi, Jamie. This is Jane Dow, and a mutual associate of yours, Miss Mary Smith, suggested that I give you a call. As I understand from her, you're possibly having a challenge with, increasing your direct sales goals. Is this an appropriate time to talk? Most times they will say yes, that's fine. And do you see why this is different than the other one? You're actually telling her about a possible challenge that you heard she was having and asking her, is it an appropriate time to talk about it? It's coming from a place of help. Here's why. This approach does not give off sales pressure, and it makes your prospect feel more comfortable since you're coming from a place of helping them. Mrs. Mary Smith suggested that I give you a call. As I understand from her, you're possibly having a challenge with increasing your direct sales goals. Is this an appropriate time to talk? Next, you can say, once she says, yes, this is fine. Okay, well, just so I don't, go over things that Mary might have discussed with you, would you give me your thoughts on what you both have already spoken about and what you'd like to cover so that we can focus on what you're possibly looking for? Do you see how this is really coming across like a place of help? You're asking her what her thoughts are, and you're asking her what information she would like to cover so that you can possibly help her to find what she's looking for. This puts you, it puts them in control, but it really puts you in control because she's now going to tell you what she's looking for, and she's going to tell you what she would like to cover. And with those answers, you can take them and say, oh, wow, great, she's looking for this. And you can decide if your solution is going to help her, and you're not coming off as pressure. You're making sure that your prospect feels comfortable, and you're coming from a place of helping them, which is what we always want to do, and servicing them. It's always great to go into this type of question and really not assume the sell. Stay neutral, and you will win the trust of your prospect every time. You become the trusted authority and consultant, as opposed to the pushy salesperson trying to sell them something, trying to present, always looking for a way to get your story in, and just turning off more and more people. Here's another phrase you may use after she says, yes, that will be fine. Okay, well, Ms. Smith, it might be appropriate to both of us if I could understand a little bit more about you and what you're possibly looking for. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? For example, what type of sales training do you feel you need the most? Or what are you currently doing to maintain or lose weight? Or what type of online business are you most interested in starting? These questions should depend on, the related industry that you're in. And they should be a little bit deeper than these. These are pretty surface questions. So I think a better question, if you're trying to help someone to join this Woman Boss Sales Training, I think a more appropriate question would be, if you don't mind, if I ask you a few questions, what are you currently doing to market your direct sales business? Okay. And what do you feel you're struggling the most with? Which is working for you and which is not really working for you? Those are great questions because it allows them to really outline their struggles. And then you can ask them, and how is that affecting your sales goals? And do you feel if you had a little bit more training on that particular subject, do you feel it would help you boost your sales? And how much? How so would it help you to increase your sales? Wow, that's awesome. That's significant. How would that feel for you to have sales that high? How would that change your family? You're asking questions that they are answering, and you're digging deep. You're digging deep. That's what you should be doing. Here's another phrase you may use. I'm sorry. Let me see. I think that phrase is, okay. So, like I said, you should be asking questions depending on the responses to learn what they need. And you're getting deeper. Like I said, the very important thing that you should be focused on is being in a two-way dialogue instead of just talking about what you have to offer. And that is the point of this video. When you're talking to anyone, not just referrals, when you're talking to any prospect, you should be focused on having a two-way conversation where you're asking them a majority of the questions and they're answering, and you're digging deep to find out what they're struggling with, what their problem is, how it's affecting their life, to determine if your solution will solve it. You're listening to their needs and their wants to determine if your solution is even best for them, okay? So this is just a great way to get started with calling your referrals and calling people that are interested in what you have to offer. And, after you answer their questions, you're going to go into, I think I know something that may possibly be able to help you to reach the goals that you're wanting. Would it be appropriate if I go into those solutions and resources and tools for you? And then that's when you can tell your presentation or your solution or the specific benefits of what your solution has that will specifically solve their problems. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into this video on how to call your referrals, ladies. I really hope that it significantly helps you and is beneficial. We're having way more videos coming, and if you haven't checked out the ones that are already in the community, please do. And I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.